Hi, and welcome to Bath Garden Center. My name's Elise, and this week we're going to be talking about winter gardening and gardening indoors. If you haven't noticed, it's gotten a little chilly lately. It's about time for our first frost. And there are things that you can grow inside even though the official gardening season is over. You can probably grow a lot of what you could grow outside, but just remember things like sprawling squash and all those big plants you had in your garden, much harder to achieve inside. So winter gardening is miniature gardening, but it's still very fun. One of the things you do have to remember for everything that you're going to put inside is that we are in the northern hemisphere. So that means that the days are getting shorter and there's less sunlight overall. So that means that you're going to need to plan to either put those things in a southern facing window where they're going to get the best sun, or just plan on a grow light. There's lots of fun ways to give yourself a little bit of green indoors over the winter. You can maybe put a little shelf in a corner, put grow lights over that. You can put a little area in your kitchen on the counter with a grow light so you can just snip fresh herbs. There's lots of ways to have a green garden year round. So one of the easiest things that you can grow inside during the winter is a little herb garden. If you've got herbs outside in pots, you can go ahead and just bring them into your house and take care of them through the winter. Another great option if you don't like the mess is microgreens. Sometimes these don't even require soil to grow. You can sprout them in a mason jar, you can sprout them in a paper towel, or you can just use a very, very thin covering of soil inside of like a little seed starting tray and stick these guys in there. They are just baby vegetables, and you usually clip them off when they get their first true set of leaves. So that's after the first set of leaves, they get the other leaves. Those are called true leaves. And then when they get those, they're ready to harvest and eat. Another great thing that you can grow inside are things like lettuce and garlic greens. These may require a little bit of additional light, but if you have a good sunny window or a grow light, you should do just fine. In general, things that are very leafy and green are good to grow indoors, and things that have fruits and flowers are a little bit harder. Those will require some special tools, and we're going to talk about those next. So one thing about growing your garden indoors that you should remember is that it is indoors, which means that Mother Nature is not doing great things to you like warming the soil, keeping the ambient air temperature something that's comfortable for plants, all that kind of thing. Your home is made for you to live in, not necessarily plants. So that means you're going to need to get a few tools to supplement the environment that you're trying to create. The first thing that you should consider, especially if you're trying to do something that's a little more complicated than herbs or lettuces, is a grow light and also a heat mat. The heat mat provides a little extra heat, obviously, for seeds that are trying to germinate, because as you plant things in the soil outside, the sun warms the soil and cues those little seeds to germinate. So you may need this to get anything going that's more complicated than herbs or lettuce. And the grow light, again, just a little mentioning about the grow light here. You need to make sure you're getting something with full spectrum light. There are different types of light for different types of functions for your plants. Some types of light make your plant bloom. Some other types of light cue for like leaf growth and stuff. So you need to make sure that you're getting something that does all of it. You don't just want one or the other. There's a lot of options. This is just one option. This is a bar light here. And there's also, if you're not planning on something very big, you can just get something that screws into an existing fixture that you have and just go ahead, if you want a little windowsill or a little counter garden or something, go ahead and do this. The other thing that you should remember is that if you're trying to do, maybe let's say you're trying to do a cherry tomato plant, pollinators are not indoors. So you're going to have to hand pollinate your plant if you want any fruits. So a quick note about pollinating and doing it yourself. There are a few methods that you can use. One of them that I've heard mentioned is you can just kind of, especially for tomato plants and peppers, just kind of take the stem where the flowers are and give it a little shake throughout the plant, and because they're self-pollinating, it should spread some pollen around to the flowers. Another method, to be a little more sure, if you're really exacting, you can be a scientist about it and go ahead and get yourself a little paintbrush, dab the pollen in one flower, take it to the next flower, go ahead and dab it again, and that will pollinate for you also. And lastly, you should be mindful of the pot size that you're using. It's kind of deceiving when you put something in the ground because you're not actually sure how big the root system is. Herbs should be okay in maybe 4 to 6 inch pots. Tomatoes should be in at least a 1 to 2 gallon pot, and anything bigger, little cherry tomatoes that is, in a 1 to 2 gallon pot. Anything bigger, you probably need 5 gallons or larger. So what you just listened to was a quick overview for winter gardening. If you'd like a lot more detail, we have a great blog this week on winter and indoor gardening that talks about soil types, containers, watering needs, daylight, all that kind of good stuff. And you can go ahead and sign up for our newsletter on the homepage of our website. Go ahead and scroll to the bottom and you can sign up there. We'll see you next week.